So it's fascinating to hear you describe so many different dimensions of the community in which you grew up, and I'm wondering, before we talk about some of the activism that you became a leader in, if you could share with us some of the dimensions, more terror-stricken dimensions of dealing with the racism that structured the lives of people. Clearly, your lives were not reduced to that. You know, you enjoyed things, you had fun, you told jokes, you played games. But there's also a way in which today there is the general language about racism that focuses on discrimination that doesn't necessarily get to some of the terror of it. Some of the existential aspects, some of what it meant to wonder whether or not someone, you and your family, might go missing or something like that. But how did that dimension of it shape the lives of people in your community as well?
Well, the summer I went to college, I'm 17, there was an incident in our community. Louis Carter had just returned from the war, dressed in his uniform on Saturday night, adjacent town, something called a juke joint. You ever heard of
I'm familiar with the term.
The juke joint. The juke joint. You know, the little entertainment spot and all of that. Well, Louis Carter had come out of the little nightclub-like thing, and this car comes through that little settlement, probably doing 90 miles an hour, hit him, and his body went up in the air and came down in pieces, literally came down in pieces. That was a real crisis for this community. I had actually helped to organize the county NAACP while I was early in high school, right? So when this thing happened, the men of the community, including my own daddy, called a meeting. And once they got the meeting set up, they literally put a chair in the middle of the room and said, sit there, right? Now, what do you think we should do? And this is a group of men, including my own daddy. And when I think back on that, it really astounds me.
They were asking you?
Yeah.
Well, you should think, wow.
They tell me to sit in the chair there and say, what we're going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then, I had bet, So we finally decided that we had to go get one of the best lawyers we could find. And we got Spot Robinson out of Richmond, who is part of a law firm and was students of, along with Thurgood, actually. They'd been classmates with Thurgood Marshall at Howard. We got Spot Robinson. He took the case. We got a big settlement for Miss Minnie, his mother. I think of that as a part of a rite of passage for me. And as I think back on it, it says a lot about my community, the health of my community. As they say, we got to do something, and we're not just going to let this go. Something has to be done, and got some idea that I didn't know anything. It was actually Mr. Field Woods, who was a businessman, the lumber company and all of that, who really, but he took me under his wing. We weren't related at all. His was spelled with an S, Woods, Field Woods, and I just rejoice today because he said, well, we're going to go to Richmond Thursday. Let's go to Richmond Thursday. So I did the little research and all, got the appointments and things like that, and we went and talked with him. Got a nice settlement for Miss Minnie. So I've always been pleased about, as a community, piece.